Thanks to El Nino, Ohio's winter weather was full of ups and downs. Low snowfall amounts, warmer than usual temperatures, and a few blasts of Arctic air in between. One thing that is consistent about Ohio's weather is its inconsistencies. This month already, we've had highs in the 60s with heavy rain one day and highs in the 30s with snow the next. No matter the climate prediction, it's always important to be prepared to handle any weather situation. And Severe Weather Awareness Week is the perfect time to brush up on severe weather preparedness. The Ohio Committee for Severe Weather Awareness promotes Severe Weather Awareness Week and helps people take steps to be prepared for the consequences of severe weather. In this Safer Ohio Voices podcast, we have Jay Carey, who is the External Affairs Chief for the Ohio Emergency Management Agency, to talk to us about all things severe weather and Severe Weather Awareness Week. And Jay, thanks very much for being here today.
Well, thank you. It's my pleasure.
Well, why don't we just start off and maybe have you talk about some common hazards from severe weather that we see here in Ohio?
Well, the most common hazards we do see in Ohio are from severe weather are flooding and high winds. Now, those high winds can be from either severe thunderstorms and straight-line winds and also from a tornado. And flooding is also a concern. We just last year, unfortunately, down in Brown County, we had a flash flood, and that claimed 3 lives. There was a mother and 2 of her children. And the storm and the intense rain and the floodwaters, they swept the family's home into a nearby stream. So we lost 3 people in one incident last year. So those are some of the hazards we typically see associated with the severe weather here in Ohio, or the flooding and high winds.
And so that's probably why it's so important to have a special week designated to really talk about severe weather awareness. And so why don't you just give us a little bit of information about this year's Severe Weather Awareness Week?
Severe Weather Awareness Week is put together again by the committee, the Ohio Committee for Severe Weather Awareness, and it's an opportunity to promote not just some of the hazards and dangers of severe weather, but the steps people can take now to be prepared. This week it starts March 20th and it runs through the 26th. One of the key aspects of the week is when we have the statewide tornado drill. This year that's going to be at 9:50 a.m. on Wednesday, March 23rd. Weather permitting. Now, if we have some severe weather during that time, just like a lot of the tornado drills or alerts, we will postpone that. In fact, last year there was a very heavy snowstorm during this week and in southern Ohio. So one of our partners, the National Weather Service, suggested, and we postponed it from Wednesday to Friday. But at this point, the statewide tornado drill, and we would encourage a lot of businesses and organizations, schools, et cetera, to take advantage of this tornado drill at 9:50 a.m. on Wednesday, March 23rd.
So from the Ohio EMA's point of view, working with this committee and with the Severe Weather Awareness Week, how do you sort of blend all that together?
Well, we've got a multifaceted group that's on this committee. We have one of our key partners is the National Weather Service, and we have representatives from Cleveland, the Wilmington office, Pittsburgh, Charleston, West Virginia, and even northern Indiana. So we have several partners from the different offices from the National Weather Service, American Red Cross, and then several state organizations, the Department of Aging, Education, the Ohio Department of Health, Insurance, Natural Resources, Ohio Department of Transportation, of course, the Ohio EMA, State Fire Marshal's Office. We also have some media partners. We have a couple of meteorologists here in Columbus that help advise this committee as well. And the main aspect of the committee, what we're trying to do is, again, just promote that severe weather, it's that time of year, and the steps that Ohioans can take to be prepared. And a big part of that is knowing, being aware of the weather, paying attention to the media, and knowing the difference of some of the weather terms.
And I know there's a website out there that's got a lot of good information, weathersafety.ohio.gov. What types of information would people find on that website?
Well, that's a website that we've developed for the committee. You'll see a listing of the state weather terms, all of the dates on the tornado drills, tornado facts and safety tips, ways to conduct fire drills and tornado drills. There's information for older Ohioans. There's information for kids. It's all about that severe weather preparedness and the steps people can do, how to make a preparedness kit. So there's all kinds of good information there about, it can go into excessive heat, and a lot of it's just that readiness and preparedness and trying to help people out. You got to remember, there's so many aspects of being prepared, and it's having a preparedness kit where you can throw. You have your medicines for you and your family, some water and some food, but also don't forget those with special needs and also your pets. If you have to evacuate or something, you want to be able to take care of and some food and water and maybe even medicine for your pets. So there's an awful lot of different areas of preparedness, and this website really focuses on help Ohioans answer those questions on how they can be prepared for any severe weather and the hazards those may bring.
And you're listening to a Safer Ohio Voices podcast. And in this episode, we're talking with Jay Carey, who's the External Affairs Chief for the Ohio Emergency Management Agency. And we're talking about severe weather and Severe Weather Awareness Week here in Ohio. Jay, you talked earlier about this tornado drill that's coming up soon. There is some confusion, I think, out there that some people have between what constitutes a tornado watch and a tornado warning. Can you talk a little bit about what people should know and what the differences between those two are?
Sure. And the National Weather Service, is the organization that issues these warnings and watches. Whenever they're part of their role is to alert the public when dangerous weather conditions are expected. A watch is when there is a potential or conditions are existing for a dangerous weather event. So they're just telling you to stay tuned, that the conditions are right for something to happen. A warning is when there is a dangerous weather event that is imminent, and people should take immediate action to protect their life and property. If you hear that there's a tornado warning, then it's time to take shelter. If you hear there's a tornado watch, then you need to stay tuned to your local media and stay to your National Weather Service outlets, and so you can be prepared to take that shelter. But the watch means, pay attention, and the warning means take shelter.
Turning back to the Ohio Committee for Severe Weather Awareness, in addition to their involvement with the Awareness Week that's coming up, what other campaigns does the committee promote?
Well, in addition to the Spring Severe Weather Awareness Week that we've been talking about and the statewide tornado drill, we also promote in about 6 months from now the winter safety awareness, because there's a whole nother set of preparedness activities one would want to take to be prepared for a blizzard, and especially a snowstorm if you're going to be out traveling. We also, during the summer, we try and promote preparedness and activities for people when it comes to excessive heat, because that can be a problem as well. The National Prepare-a-thon, which is it's part of the FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, and they have a national campaign to help people be prepared. And again, it's in the spring, it's in April, and then they have a similar awareness month in November as well for winter. So it's really just a lot of different activities to try and again raise the awareness of the impacts weather can have and the steps that Ohioans can take to be prepared.
Would you like to talk about the statewide severe weather awareness poster contest?
Oh, I would love to, actually. That's something that this committee and that has been doing since 1978. That's when the committee was formed. Let me back up just a second and say some of us were around Ohio a long time ago and remember the Super Tuesday outbreak of tornadoes that hit, including the one that hit Xenia back in 74. And people were somewhat unprepared for, especially a storm of that magnitude. So that's what spawned this committee forming, was a way of trying to make people aware of the hazards that severe weather can bring and the steps they can take to be prepared. So, and by 1978, they created this a poster contest, and it's for first through, I believe, fifth graders anywhere in the state, and we have regional winners and age group winners, and overall a state winner. And all of the regional and age group winners are invited to the state fair for a special day, and it's some great posters. And these kids, you can really sense their creativity and their passion, and it's really been a good program because it gets the kids interested. Oftentimes the kids will go home and have the conversations with their parents about, hey, do you know that what are we going to do if a tornado hits? and it also, it brings it's a chance to reward the kids for their creativity as well. So it's been a very popular program that we've been doing for more than 30 years now.
And again, this is a Safer Ohio Voices podcast, and today we're talking with Jay Carey, who's the External Affairs Chief for Ohio EMA, and we've been talking about severe weather here in Ohio and Severe Weather Awareness Week. So I guess, Jay, from the EMA point of view, what steps should Ohioans take, and really should any people take, before a storm hits to help protect themselves and their families?
Well, again, you need to be aware of the potential of the weather terms, like we've already talked about, a watch and a warning, and where to get more information is one thing. It's being aware, and the second is to make sure that you have a preparedness kit, and I think it's really important to have flashlights and extra batteries, a battery-operated radio, or maybe a crank radio. A lot of those, so in case your power is out, you can still stay tuned to the news and any warnings that may come out. It's make sure all your prescriptions are together, and you maybe have a few extra medications, and then just a lot of stuff around the house. Some basic tools, a shut-off wrench, because let's say if there is a tornado, then you want to be able to get into and turn off your gas, and maybe your water. So in case there's pipes breaking, it's not contained. So there's some things like that you can do. It's good to have extra water, 1 gallon of water per person per day. You should have up to 3 days supply, so that's 3 gallons per person in your household that you should have nearby or in a kit. And just the idea of creating the kit is, I think, a real important step, because you can say, well, I've got all that stuff, I'll grab it when I need it, but you may not have the time or opportunity to grab it as you need it, and just taking the steps of putting a kit together, and you'll think, well, if this were to happen, maybe I should have this, or maybe I should have that. So putting a kit together, being aware, and another thing I think is real important is to make sure that you have a plan or communications plan with your family. So if something were to happen, we're going to meet at the flagpole at the library or something like that, because if there's a big disaster, if there's a major tornado that comes through, your the cell phone towers might be out, everything's going to be overworked, you may not be able to communicate with your family. So maybe have a meeting point that if things go crazy, this is where we're going to meet. It's also good to have someone that is maybe an out-of-state contact that everyone knows, well, we'll call Aunt Mary in Louisville. And so to coordinate, because your phone calls, you might be able to make a long distance or a call out of the area, but not within the area. So everyone can say, hey, I'm okay, I'm safe, I'm going to be at the flagpole by the library, and I'll be waiting for Dad there. You call Aunt Mary, and then Dad will call into Aunt Mary, and then go to the flagpole. So there's just that communications plan, I think, is really important for Ohioans to have as well.
So there's a lot of good information there. Jay, as we wrap up here, is there anything else that you'd like to add, or maybe a place that people can go for some more information?
Well, we touched on briefly the website, weathersafety.ohio.gov. And that is, I think, a really good resource. There's a lot of information there if people are interested in finding out more about this, and I would highly encourage them to do so. But I would encourage everyone to go to weathersafety.ohio.gov.
Great. Well, today we've been joined on this Safer Ohio Voices podcast by Jay Carey, the External Affairs Chief for the Ohio Emergency Management Agency. And with Severe Weather Awareness Week coming up, we want to definitely make sure that we thank the Ohio Committee for Severe Weather Awareness and the 16 partner organizations that are involved that are all working quite hard to keep everybody here in Ohio safe. Jay, I'd also like to thank you for all the work that you and your colleagues are doing at the Ohio Emergency Management Agency.
Well, thank you, Jeff, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today.
And thank you for listening to this Safer Ohio Voices podcast produced by the Ohio Department of Public Safety. Be sure to join us next time and check out all the ways the Ohio Department of Public Safety is contributing to a safer Ohio on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and on YouTube.